Lovely playing. We are not a cello and a violist, but we do know a little bit about playing a soprano-ish instrument and then a tenor bassist instrument, so there's a lot of dynamic between high and low, and so there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about with that. First, how long have you been working on this music?
Like a month.
Okay, great. Yeah. So the first thing we noticed is just not necessarily a power dynamic, but in terms of chamber music. When we play chamber music, we want to be able to communicate with each other as much as possible because you don't have a conductor, right? And a lot of that communication is in movement, and I see you all moving to each other and cueing each other, but a lot of it is visual and in eye contact. And so, and having eye contact at the same level as each other, I think for us is important. And the cello can't really stand and play, right? What we noticed was that when you all did do some good communicating, it felt like it took a lot of energy for you to move, turn from your music to look up at her, and then you had to turn away from your music to look down at him. So maybe it might be easier to be at the same eye level if maybe you just try sitting. And so the both of you are just sitting, and that way it would feel more almost, if you see a string quartet would usually all sit to accommodate, usually the cellist in that drum. Would you be amenable to try sitting and playing with it? Just do that little thing. So is there a chair available? Okay. Great.
To be clear for us, right, so I play saxophone, he plays bassoon. Bassoon sits a lot, right? Orchestra, they sit. So I had to convince him to stand. You don't have that option, right? Cello, you're not going to stand up, maybe electric cello, I don't know, something, right? But this, now you look more comfortable, believe it or not, right? I know this feels maybe a little bit weird, feels like orchestra, maybe, right? But now you can see each other peripherally, right? So, instead of having to do that. So let's just try the opening, maybe 8 measures, just opening phrase, and see if you can communicate a little easier because you can see each other a little bit better, okay?
At the same level.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you?
Better.
Better? Why?
Because I don't have to stop looking away,
Right.
music, and I feel like
Yeah.
more secure.
Yeah, so you don't have to look down and he doesn't have to look up. Now, there's still some side to side. So still, you can even angle yourselves a little bit more towards each other. We're still going to hear, and if you were a concert master, a viola concert master in the orchestra, wouldn't that be amazing? Then the dream, right?
Yeah.
You still going to project this way, and the cello's going to project this that way. Now you're not having to look up and down, and you're not having to look left and right, and so you can look at your music. And I like to talk to students that sit and play of having the stand as low, so that you're looking at the music, but then you can see each other peripherally as well. So now
I can arch the stand a little bit too, if that's more.
yeah.
If you want to, you can arch the stand a little bit more so that you can look straight ahead and see the other person over the stand. So that's the other difference, right? If you're standing, you have to go like this, right? There's a lot of motion. Here, you can see in all directions. So it's a small thing, but I think it makes playing together as a chamber group a lot easier.
So the goal is to be able to see your music and see each other without physically moving this way or this way, and then ergonomically also relaxes you to play your music and phrase that you want to phrase without feeling that you're straining anything. And because when you have to do like this, at least for wind players, it can even cause pain in your Maybe let's try a slightly different place. You stopped, where did you stop? Measure 9. Maybe start at measure 9 this time, and maybe play through measure 25. That's okay, right?
Entonces, ocho.
This is a really interesting point that by both of you sitting, the balance is a little bit different also. So not only visually can you see and maybe take away some of the tension of having to turn and do all that, but sonically we can hear it's much more even. So now you can actually communicate if, for example, in the cello solo, you want to take a little more time, ti-da-di-da, you can hear that and you can see it. And you go, da-da-di, and slow down a little bit. Just these small little nuance kind of things. Matis. I learned that yesterday. So, matis. You can see these nuances and hear these nuances, and it makes it easier to communicate without having to talk in between.
So one place that I noticed when you were standing that I think maybe now you can work on doing what's actually on the page is measure 34 to 35. You have bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Maybe now that one particular measure can have a little bit more something. You're going into the second theme of the sonata like reform in Beethoven, PTSK, it's the S in the secondary theme there. So maybe so we ended at measure 25. Maybe we start at measure 26, and the goal here is to really focus on your communication in measure 34, so that happens when you're doing what's written in the part, and then measure 35, the communication can be good there. So maybe start at measure 26 and play through measure 36. So from 26 to 36. that's one measure. It's a transition into a different place right there. So these little measures in Beethoven, Beethoven was very careful with transitions into secondary themes. So this is the second theme of the exposition. So it's very important that each individual thing happens there. And so it's your job to know that what she has is 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and evenly 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, right? So his second 16th note has to fit into your 8th note right there. And so this might be a place where you might just have to almost memorize that measure and just lock your eyes into each other. So that so that's el compósito del ritmo. Eso es lo que está pasando ahí. Could I just hear measure 34 slowly? Como that one measure. Can I hear you sing the rhythm? Da, 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 da. Okay, can I just hear you sing it by yourself? Ready? And da, 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 da. You got both. Da, 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 da. Okay, otra vez más. And da, 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 da. Ahora los dos juntos. And okay. Have you ever tried singing your music together in rehearsal before? Okay. So when there's a measure, that's a lot of the music is good, the rhythm is good, but then you might get to that one measure that's not perfect. And in this, we'll call it late classical era, a lot of the rhythms just have to fall right in place. When you get that one measure that's not just that's always the best way to really figure out what the rhythm is. And you can conduct each other. You can go da, 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 da. If you can sing it, you can play it. Si lo pueden cantar, lo pueden tocar. Okay?
Can we go slow? And very slow at 34. Good. We're going to go twice as slow. Dum, da, da, dum, bum, bum, bum. Good. Okay, now add the dynamics. Add the dynamics so that it feels like we're doing it. Same speed, very slow. Okay? Ready? Oh, same place. Okay, quicker. Yeah, maybe a little more with the dynamics. Just a little bit more. Okay, ready, and go. Okay. So I think that's how to work on these transitions, right? If they're a little bit difficult to kind of understand, maybe first start singing it, and then kind of try some different things, maybe very slowly, first.
Loudest snaps in the business. So, when you were doing this, when you were slowing it down, and we like to call it painfully slow. Tan despacio que te duele, ¿sabes? What was it that you identified that was the issue? Could you identify what it was that you were doing wrong and now you know to fix?
Well, the
The nuances,
and well, the rhythm.
Yeah, could you find out what it was that was happening?
Maybe like coordination.
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
So one of you was a little too fast, and one of you was a little too slow.
Do you know who was fast and who was slow?
Yeah.
I think it was
You were what?
fast.
You were actually slow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were late on the third.
You were waiting da, dee da da, and you were da da dee da da, and kind of pushing through. So you were kind of relaxed before the actual cadence, right? Before getting to the new section, and you were kind of going.
You just want to, you don't have time to think.
Right.
So sometimes you don't have to overthink. You just do. And sometimes the strength players might be different than what we're doing. Maybe a singular bow motion, da, dee, da, 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 da. Or you just have to keep subdividing what's happening. Da, da, dee, da, 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 da. And you have to subdivide at that molecular level, that small, to have that. Okay. So now that you've thought about that, so for me, I call this my 3 eyes, identified, and then we isolated it. So identify, isolate, now we're going to integrate it back. 3 eyes. Identificar, isolate es aislar y integrar. ¿Así? Para lo mismo, ¿sí? Now I want you to go back to measure, maybe not so far back, measure 31, and really focus on what's going to happen in measure 34 to go into 35, and that you thought about all of that. So the first 2 beats were together, were nice, and now you can do more with the Post-Haste Duo. That's written in beats 3 and 4. And in Beethoven and a lot of classical music, you have 3 eighth notes written all over the place. 3 quick touch, dee, bum, bum, and that 3 can really look at each other. I give boom, boom, así, okay? Una vez más.
Okay, is there a section in this part of the piece, or in this section of the piece that you're working on, where it feels like your dynamics should be equal, should be exactly equal, so that it's almost like it's one instrument? Is there a part where you feel like that?
39.
Okay. Okay, great.
Maybe we can start right at 35 and then play through the downbeat of measure 49.
This still feels like accompaniment and melody a little bit. Can you just hear your line and imagine it's Bach cello suite? Okay, use lots of bow and just play that part from 30, was it 35? Okay. Okay, where are you going to crescendo? Where crescendo? Okay, good. More. Ji-da-da-da. Use more bow, okay? Again. Ooh, okay. It's not music. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, same thing. Viola, same part, 35 to 40, I think it was 49. Okay, but play it like it's a solo. Okay? That's great. You hold up?
So we asked you about this part specifically. Well, you told us this part, but I can see why this part is important to do that, because the word instruction that they gave you, that Beethoven gave you here was espressivo. So when a composer tells you espressivo, what does that mean? You gotta see it.
Well, like a lot of feeling.
Yeah, a little bit more. At least for wind players, for us, it means usually more vibrato. You can be a little more expressive with the layering of the vibrato. The composer wants you to emote even more than what happened before, and so that way you can give us more shaping of the line.
One thing I think of when I say espressivo is I try to make the sound be more free. Right? It's not contained, it's much more free. So if we try that section, play the exact same way you played as a solo, but together. Let's see what happens, okay? Okay, intonation, sure. How did that feel? How did it feel? Better?
Yeah.
Weird? A little weird?
It's like more freeing, I don't know.
Ah, okay. Did you like it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. So if this is espressivo, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, just use more bow. So for us, we're wind players, so we get really jealous of you using your bow because you can see how much, basically how big, how loud it's going to be. You don't get to see that. So as wind players, when I'm doing like a master class, I tell students, hey, look to see what a string player would do. Ti-da-da! And so that's how we use our air. So you can think of it the same way. If you're singing, ti-da-da! Oh, okay, I have to use more bow. I have to phrase or I have to crescendo into that a little bit. So do you want to do that whole section now?
Well,
Or you have something else?
there's a lot of really good things happening now. So then we have a moment in measure 40, beat 2 of measure 40, in this section. There's one thing that happens in measure 40 that Beethoven has given you, and that is what?
The accent.
The accent. So there, out of the emphasis everything, there's your moment in that section. So as a group, you get to make that decision as to what you want to do. And together is more important than correct. So what you want to do together is what's going to make it sound effective to the audience. Okay? So, what was your plan? What did you want to do there?
Well, we talk about a crescendo that guides to that accent.
Okay, and then how do you approach the accent? What's the beginning of the accent like? What's the middle of the accent like? What's the release of the accent like? And what's happening after the accent? Ah, okay, yeah. So you have a moment. So take 20 seconds, 30 seconds and talk about it. And then convince you don't have to tell us what you decided. You can play it, and then hopefully it's convincing. Okay, I'm going to also give you a suggestion. A lot of rehearsals have, you do a lot of talking. It's okay to play how you want it to be for each other. Also, you can say, how about like this? How about like this? Oh, I like that, or I like this. So, in rehearsal, you can play for each other. How about this way? How about that way? And you can try different things. The more you demonstrate for each other, the more you're learning about each other's tendencies, about how you feel about music, just personally, and you're learning about, of course, each other's instruments as well. Okay? How about we just start from, measure 35 and go all the way to measure, 1, 2, 3, the downbeat of measure 44. That's okay. That's okay. How did it sound to the audience, that little accent moment?
More in character, more expressive.
Yeah, it was more impressive. Yeah, I like it. There was some rhythm that they had afterwards, so it seems like it might be okay to give it a little bit bum bum bum, dum dum dum, and in this case it might be okay to give it a little bit, or bum bum bum, dum dum dum. So the decision to make afterwards is, do you want room after the accent, or do you want to stay right in tempo, right? So that's why I said what's happening at the beginning, at the middle, at the end, and what's happening afterwards as well. Yeah. So you can experiment with those things, and sometimes it has to do with, we've listened to 10 recordings of it, not just one, not just your favorite recording, listen to 10 recordings, and we like the way that these 3 other duos play it, as opposed to these other 7 duos, right? And why you like the way those happen right there. Okay. Tell us, where do you think the most difficult little section of the entire piece is for you at the moment?
Like technically or?
Yeah.
But for me, 55.
55. Say spiccato. Okay. Oh, tie. Chocolate. And then you have that trill. Okay. Could we just hear this section? And it doesn't have to be full tempo right now. Where's a good place that you would like to start?
54.
54 on the trill. Okay. 54 to the second to the second hit. Well, you can keep going if you want. Yeah, let's try it one more time. Keep going all the way to measure 69 to measure 70
To the second one.
to the second ending.
Out.
Yeah. Okay, well, first of all, round of applause. Yeah, really great job. Yeah, it's difficult, but you're doing a really great job of just playing the notes, and just getting it up. What does spiccato mean in the cello world?
It's a different technique with the bow.
Is it mainly, and I'm asking generally, is it more like stop bow? It's almost like it's it has that needs to have a resonance. Okay. Spiccato needs to have a resonance. Is it more off the string then?
It can be
It's the off the string. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe what I'm wanting is a little more separation. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe a little more separation if possible. It's and I think it's okay to have a little direction towards beat 1. But I think what I'm also hearing is you're going and this still has the A naturals. But if you change the way you think about it, to the A, So there was two, plus two, plus two, plus two, plus uno más tres, uno más tres, uno más tres. Pa, 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 pa. Así. Un, dos, tres, cuatro, 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 un, dos, tres, cuatro. In many cases, when I think about 16th notes like this, instead of thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because in many cases like this, it's almost like an Alberti bass. And the third 16th note is actually what we call a knock 14. So can I just hear you play that? And here you go. Ba, 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 ba. And it's okay for you to go. Ba, 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 ba. With this thing and the team will go out. So this is la microfrase, that's the microphrase. Now, tocas el ritmo todo junto, pero estás pensando en esa frase. Okay. Mejor. Sí, mejor. No tienen que ser acentos, sino no date nada más pensando en esa frase sin hacer acento. Ok, una vez más. Okay, that's gonna help you in that little place right there. So, 50, what is it?
55.
55, okay, can we get into it? Can we start with 54? Did that sound clearer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that very difficult to understand the concept?
No.
We worked on it a little bit. How long did that take? 3 minutes? Yeah. So when you're practicing these 16th notes, you can take a set of 16th notes and you can go ta 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 ta, or you can go ta 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 ta. Another thing I like to do is go ta 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 ta, or ta 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 ta. And then when you put it all back together, you can really hear how that 16th note phrase happens. Right there. Good. Next. I like your trill. Your trill is appropriate for 54 because you're going up to me. Your trill, you have a cadential trill with a big giant appoggiatura. The appoggiatura is correct. I think your appoggiatura can be even longer. The trill is the boring part. The appoggiatura is the interesting part. So I think you can even lean into the appoggiatura. So this is measure 58. So measure 58, you can give us the longest. You can even lean on that even much longer before you start the trill. The trill is the boring part. Yeah.
The D natural system control.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the D natural. Yeah. It's actually E. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. D
So the
natural.
appoggiatura is D to
Yeah.
C.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe let's start one last time at 54, and then go all the way to the second. I'm sorry. I think you're maybe a little apprehensive about that. Can I hear you play measure 58? Just play by yourself. Measure 58. The viola part. Okay. Yeah. So that could probably be a little bit louder actually. And then can I hear you play your trill? Okay. Can you play the even much longer?
in sync a little bit, it might help you to be able to go, oh, okay.
The reason we're asking you to do this is because this is the last bit of tension before the release, right? It's the cadence, the big 5-chord, 5, 1, right? So that's what the composer wants right there. Almost all classical music, the 5 is the last, and that's what happens there. Not, right? So it's okay to, so I give you license to go as wild as you want on the tour. Just give us everything you want to right there. One last time. I know we're spending a lot of time on this because you said it was the hardest part of the whole movement. So one more time at measure 54. The best thing you did right there, I love it. Drum players, we love to hear string players breathe.
Yeah, communication.
Great. That was so great.
No, in the next section, I want to talk about it. We got to the next section?
Well, we stopped at what measure? When you all played the first time, we stopped at what measure?
Tengo,
Oh, yeah, we kept going all the way to. Okay,
Okay, so I think there's some things we can do in the next section.
okay.
I don't know what it is, so.
Yeah, it's this entire section, this part right here.
Yeah.
Could we maybe, and this will become a class and we'll work on, we want to give you a chance to play the whole thing one more time. Could you start maybe pickups to measure 70 one more time and just play from measure 70 to the pickup of measure 88? Just like that page.
So the end of the second ending going into measure 70.
Pick up to page 6 and just play page 6.
that's okay.
Tenemos la misma página, la misma música. So, pickups hasta la página 6 y nada más la página 6. So,
Bien.
measure 70. ¿Quieren? Okay. That's interesting to know. Okay. I'm going to partitura or score. Partitura. Okay. We have a philosophy about that. It's just a duet. For us, and it's, there are a lot of duos here. How many duos normally read just your own parts? Raise your hand. How many do like to read the score?
Almost always.
Half. Yeah, for a lot of duo music, we like to read the score. I want to know what the other part is doing. If it's a quintet, it's hard because 5 staves, Mahler 9, it's hard to read the whole thing. But when it's just the two of you, it's really nice to just see the other part. So maybe something to consider also.
Maybe some
there,
At least a rehearsal.
when you're playing, and you're rehearsing, then you always know what the other person has, and you make
No,
those
we
cues.
usually rehearse with the score, but.
Right? Good, okay.
So 70 to 80.
Yeah, 7 to 88. Do, things that you use. So for me, the musical time directive, and this really goes for music of Beethoven, is if the line is going up, the contour goes up, then you should get louder with the contour, and if the contour goes down, then you get softer with the contour, because usually in the middle of the phrase is the highest note. So, you would go, right? So naturally, you're going to do generally what the contour says. And this is a really good section to do something like that. So, as an exercise, I want you to just for a minute, completely forget what the dynamics are here. And just if the line goes up, get louder. If the line goes down, get softer. Okay? So just try it. Just try it. Okay? Start at measure 70 and go all the way to the downbeat of 87. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for those necessarily the exact dynamics that were printed on the page, maybe not, but did you feel that there was a lot more, some contrast happening? Yeah, so that's something to play around with. That's something to play around with. That in this kind of music, unless otherwise written by the composer might want you to go up and get crescendo, right? But generally, in this type of music, in these phrases and lines that are going up, for us, it sounded like there was a lot more drama happening. Yeah?
And in our rehearsals, we experiment with that all the time. Sometimes we say, okay, so sometimes we'll say, let's do opposite. So if it goes up, we'll take crescendo. If it goes down, we'll crescendo. Just to see what it would sound like. Then if it doesn't sound good, we go, oh, that's not, trash that, that's fine. But at least we like to experiment in rehearsal. Oh, you're playing that like that. Oh, I have that later. Let me try to play it the same way, right? Using your ears to kind of inform how you want the phrasing to be.
So we're gonna kind of recap everything. You all have just been amazing, and we really appreciate the time that you had. So when you have someone in front of you telling you what to do and coaching you, that's one thing. But then how do you translate this to when you're in a rehearsal room by yourselves? What are the things that you do to coach each other? This is a rhetorical question. So this is when I think about some of the things that I said, those E's, the 3 I's. For me, it comes down to 4 ways of rehearsing, 4 ways of practicing, which is at some point you read music, right? So level 1 is sight reading. You sight read the music once, and there's a way to sight read, and you can become a better sight reader. Then level 2 is woodshedding, is working on the notes and the rhythms to make sure that the notes and the rhythms are individually are good, so that when you come together, you can work together, and then you can delegate, you can play, and then you can be the person that says, I'm going to talk about intonation, I'm going to talk about bowing the rhythms, I'm going to talk about balance, and then you can switch that in a rehearsal. And then 3 is when that is good, in conjunction with that, you talk about making musical decisions. So it's not just that you play like robots and then you say, okay, now with feeling, right? You say, oh, do I like the prime directive here? Am I doing this down? Are we doing this accent with vibrato? That's when you talk with each other and ask those things. And that's when you're really learning the style of the piece. And so you've played it in a coaching year, and then you get ready to perform it, so then you need level 4, which is performance practice, which is learning to perform the whole thing without stopping, and it's live music. If a mistake happens, who cares? Because it's not about the mistake, it's about the recovery. It's about how well can you get through the whole thing and still make music, and still learn to forgive yourself, and still learn to make music and do it with a musical partner that you respect musically together. So those are some of the things that we're always thinking about when we're playing music together. And we hope is why you like doing this, right? Well, hopefully it's fun for you to do this. We like to think it's much more fun than sitting in an orchestra and having a conductor just wasted at us. We think that playing chamber music is so much more fun. So why don't you just give us one more run of the piece with some of the things that we've talked about and just see how things sound.
Cuando ustedes trabajan instrumentos de cuerda al mismo tiempo que otro instrumento, un viento, madera, un bronce, ¿qué es la primera cosa en la que se fijan para poder calzar entre los instrumentos?
So the question is, when we work with different instruments, balance y articulación. Para nosotros, como el saxofón, es un instrumento que tiene mucha resonancia y el fagot tiene casi cero resonancia. Yo puedo hacer pop así, y el saxofón puede hacer así. So, como de cuerdas, todos tienen un bow, ¿sabes? Y somos celosos de eso, que pueden ser eso. So, o un quinteto de brass quintet, que todos hacen el sonido de la misma forma. Así. So, cuando es algo mixto, tenemos que entender cómo es que cada instrumento hace su resonance para hablar de articulación y balance.
¿Cómo se empata? Porque las técnicas al ser tan dispares, cuesta unirlas.
¿Sí?
Entonces, ¿qué cosas hacen ustedes o les han dicho a sus estudiantes para que suenen precisos?
Depende de la combinación, ¿sabes? Para nosotros, yo tengo que Sean does a really great job of playing shorter and softer, and I have to beef up my sound. Tengo que tocar más fuerte a veces, o el elongate comments, ¿sabes? El fagot hace así, ¡pum! Pero para hacer como el clarinete, ¿sabes? Tengo que trabajar en eso mucho. Para que cuando nosotros tocamos juntos, podemos hacer eso para que a veces suena como un instrumento. Hay piezas que a veces no hay que sonar como un instrumento y la pieza se supone que suena como dos instrumentos, pero hay algunas piezas que el compositor quiere que nosotros sonemos como un instrumento, y eso tenemos que sobrevivir los obstáculos de nuestros instrumentos que hacen naturales. Good question.
In this case, I think that is like really useful because naturally the viola has less resonance than the cello. So I think that is a great advice for viola in this case because us as violas we adjust these instruments that tend to have more.
Yeah, the cello's gonna be real nice.
Yeah,
and really
naturally
is. Yeah.
more resonance by a natural composition.
Yeah, so notice that at the accent point, I wasn't as concerned with the beginning, it's the end. How is the decay going to happen? Each instrument decays differently, and that's where the magic happens. If you can learn to release your notes at the same time, a good ear can hear that and when we hear people that release and with different instruments and it sounds like that, it just sounds so much sweeter and beautiful, and that's where the nuance is in phrasing and playing, is the magic is at the end of the notes.